So welcome to my life. So what I want to do today is talk about a couple of different things. I want to talk about just if I were to start over with getting back in shape over the age of 40, what would I focus on? What actually works? What actually works to get back into the shape that you want to be in? You might have been somebody who's like, you've been in shape, and then over time you're like, okay, I don't recognize this person in the mirror anymore. I don't understand what's happening to my body. I don't know what's going on. Or maybe you're just like, it's time. This is my time. I've got a lot of things going on in my life. I've got a lot of things that I'm responsible for, family, friends, a career that, is a very demanding career, things like that, right? And you're like, this is my time. I know that if I don't take care of my body now, it's not going to serve me in my future. So if you are somebody who you're like, I want to make sure that I'm doing the things that I need to do now in my 30s, 40s, 50s to serve your body into your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even beyond. And so what I wanted to do today is talk about the four pillars or the four quadrants of what I teach, what I essentially teach. So I have developed a proprietary framework. I call it the balance framework. That is the how. We're going to talk about these four different things today. But that balance framework is the how. It's like, okay, Heather, well, this is great. These are the things that you want us to focus on, but like, how do we do it? And that is something that I teach in what's called the balance framework. Okay. So like today, what I wanted to do is go over what are the four different things, the four different pillars of getting back into shape over the age of 40. What are the things that when I'm working one-on-one or if I'm working with a small group of women, what do I tell them to work on? Okay. So the first thing is going to be your nutrition. So really focusing in on what you're feeding yourself, what you're putting into your body, the different foods that you're eating, hydration, things like this. So really focusing in on your protein, making sure that you're getting enough protein. I know protein is all over the internet right now. It seems like it's a trend, but it's very important, and it's always been important to begin with. As women, we start to lose muscle in our late 20s, as early as our late 20s. And so what we want to be doing when we're in our 40s, we're women in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, doesn't matter where you are, you really want to be eating in a way that supports you in retaining as much of your beautiful muscle as possible, okay? So you want to eat in ways that allows you to keep muscle that you already have, but also perhaps even build more muscle, okay? So how do you do that? Well, that's where one of that piece is going to be your nutrition. So eating enough protein, getting enough protein in your diet so that you can, as you are focusing in on your strength training, your movement, which we'll talk about next, that you are going to be able to keep that muscle and potentially even build new, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful muscle, okay? So nutrition, I always kind of talk about it like, in this sense that think about the 80-20 rule. It's, 80% of the time you're eating for your personal fitness, your personal wellness goals. And 20% of the time you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna, have a couple pieces of pizza, I might have a cheeseburger or something that might be considered off plan, okay? There's no bad foods. The only foods that I would suggest you don't eat are gonna be things like things you're allergic to, rotten foods, things you just don't like. Okay. Hi. Hello. Yes. Where am I from? I'm from Wisconsin. Can you hear my accent? I'm in Arizona right now. But yeah, I'm from Wisconsin. People always ask me that. They hear my O's. It always comes out. So you're eating the protein, 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you're eating towards your goals. 20% of the time, enjoy yourself. If you're at a birthday party, you want to have a slice of birthday cake, have a slice of birthday cake. Like, there's some enjoyment that comes from food too. It's not always about getting in shape. There's enjoyment that comes out of food too. And then, like I said, the only foods that I really suggest that you don't eat are going to be things like that you're allergic to, things that you just don't like, things that are rotten, stuff like that. Like there's really just nothing that's off limits. It's really just more what makes you feel good in your body and what's going to help you get to your goals. Yeah, so vegetarian, I was a vegetarian for a really long time. I was a vegetarian for 15 years. And I was a vegan for a little while too. I do eat meat now for various reasons that, that's probably a whole separate video. But I was a vegetarian for 15 years. And you can certainly still get high protein in with a vegetarian diet. There's a lot of really good vegetables, grains, things like this that have high protein in it. So 100%. So somebody wants a shout out. Somebody wants a shout out. All right, Big 23. Hello, there's your shout out. Pre-vegetarian means I never ate egg also in my life. Yeah, so are you vegan? Sounds like you might be vegan as well. So nutrition, that's going to be the number one thing to focus in on. You're getting back in shape over the age of 40. Focus in on your nutrition. And you don't have to go do this all or nothing. It doesn't need to be like, okay, I need to be perfect from day one. That's not, nobody's ever perfect. Like that's just like a miserable life of trying to be perfect all the time. But it's, in your next meal, can you take your plate, you're building out a plate. Can you fill a quarter of your plate with a good solid source of protein? Can you fill a quarter of your plate with some grains, some whole grains? And then can you fill half your plate with some fruits, vegetables, and then maybe add in some good healthy fats in there, avocados, nuts, olive oil, things like that. If we say anything chicken related, do we get kicked? No, I eat a lot of chicken. I do eat a lot of chicken. All right, second thing, if you are on a journey to get back into shape after the age of 40, second thing is going to be your activity. So this is going to be a couple of different things. Number one, we always talk about working out. Working out is a way to keep your heart healthy, your lungs healthy, to build muscle. So cardio, strength training, but it's important to find things that you actually like to do, that you're actually going to do them. Okay. I hear frequently from women, like, what's the best form of cardio to do? Well, I do believe that we should be doing cardio. It's good, solid exercise for your heart and for your lungs, but you need to find cardio, a form of cardio that you're actually going to do, that you actually like. Okay. Like if you hate, like I'm one of those people, I hate standing on the elliptical, going back and forth like this. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So I'm not going to do it, but I like my Peloton. I like swimming. I like hiking. I like walking, things like this. So for your movement, you're thinking about your cardio. You're thinking about strength training. What kinds of things are you doing to build strength, to build muscle? It's resistance training. How are you resisting gravity? Lifting weights is a very popular way of doing that. Okay. Swimming can be considered resistance training. However, as a woman over 40, there's very, very, very few scenarios where I would say, lifting weights is probably not for you. I do know a few people like that. But lifting weights is going to be the best way to help you build muscle. So combining it with having a good solid sources of protein in your meals each day, and then combining that with weight training, that's going to help you to, number one, keep the muscle that you already have and slow down the muscle loss. And then number two, potentially even build more muscle if you're eating in a way that allows you to build more muscle. So with your movement, again, cardio, your strength training, but then also think about the other times of the day when, like, you're not exercising, but it's the other movements that you get in your day. So it's called NEAT, non-exercise activity. And this is going to be things like, do you take the stairs instead of taking an escalator or the elevator? Do you park farther away in the parking lot when you go to the store so you get more steps in throughout the day? Are you paying attention to how much you're moving around? If you're working at a desk, can you stand? Things like that. These are the movement, the activity that you get throughout the day that is not it's not exercise. It's not your workout time. Okay. So paying attention to that, like how much can a lot of us have these watches, right, that remind you like, hey, you got to get up and move around. Like, pay attention to it. If it's telling you to get up and move around, get up and move around a little bit. If you've got some time in between, you're working throughout the day and you got 5 minutes in between meetings, can you do a walk around the office or a walk around the block or whatever it might be, walk around the parking lot, things like that. Okay, so number one, first quadrant, first pillar that we're talking about here, getting back in shape after the age of 40 is nutrition. Second is going to be your movement. It's going to be your actual workouts. And then it's going to be the other activities that you're getting in throughout the day. The third thing is sleep. Now, I always say with sleep is easier said than done. I'm certainly at that age where sleep sometimes becomes elusive. 48, going on 49, those 1, 2 a.m. Wake up calls they happen. They absolutely happen. But paying attention to your sleep, is going to help with your recovery. So if you're working out, you're going to the gym, you're lifting weights, you're eating the protein, during your sleep is when you are going to build those new muscles. You're going to build those new muscle fibers, okay? And so that's why sleep is so important. Everything just kind of gets reorganized in your brain, your body starts repairing itself, all the tissues start regrowing. All that stuff really happens when you're sleeping. So that's why sleep is so important. And I'm somebody who just personally, I've struggled with sleep my whole life. And I've been somebody that I can stay up. I can just stay up. Like that's like a non-issue. I can stay up if I need to. I have a hard time falling asleep. So one thing that I've really found really helps is even if I'm not sleeping, laying in bed, you get the 1 a.m. wake up call, the 2 a.m. wake up call, and you can't fall back asleep, is to stay there. I think it's very easy, and I'm guilty of it myself, is it's 2 o'clock, I'm not going to fall back asleep. So you get up, you start putzing around the house, you start doing things, you turn on the TV. And am I a boy or a girl? I mean, I'm a girl. And you start putzing around the house and you're like, okay, I can't fall back asleep, so I'm going to go and do stuff, right? What I like to do and what I try to do is just stay in bed and rest, stay in bed and relax, listen to some meditation music, listen to some meditative, programs. The Peloton app has got some really good meditation programs. There's a lot of different apps, the Calm app, the Headspace app. There's a lot of different really good meditation programs that are out there that even if you're not sleeping, you're getting some good rest anyways. Okay. So, let's see here. What do we got in the comments? If we say anything chicken related, we already talked about that. My grandfather died at the age of 97. He was a vegetarian to pure. Yeah, we eat green vegetables more. Hi, Gary, your local pastor. Yeah. Okay. Hi. Okay. So we talked about nutrition. We talked about movement. We talked about sleep. And now the fourth thing is stress management. So, stress management is, again, when you get to a certain age in life, it can be very difficult to try to lower your stress levels. And I always say, we don't necessarily want to get rid of stress. Stress can be good and stress can be bad. When you're working out, you're going to the gym, you're exercising, that's putting good stress on your body. Your body needs good stress, okay? Not all stress is bad. But then we've also got stress that's not so good on our bodies. And we need to figure out better ways to manage that or to try to lower that stress. We're never going to get rid of stress altogether. That's just never going to happen. So what are some things that you can do to try to lower your stress levels or to manage your stress? How do you react to that stress? Okay. Things like, what kinds of things can you say no to? What kinds of things, if you're asked to do something, what kinds of things are you saying yes to because you feel obliged to say yes? You're not saying yes because it's something that you really want to be doing, right? What kinds of things can you say no to? What kinds of things can you take off of your calendar? Do you have a lot of stuff on your calendar that's I don't really need to be at this thing. I don't know why I said yes to this. What kinds of things can you just start taking off of your calendar? Things that they don't serve you for what you're trying to do at this point in your life. So things, just learning how to say no, and no is a complete sentence. Other areas of stress management are going to be things like, what kinds of things are you actively doing to try to manage your stress? Are you practicing yoga? Are you doing breath work? Are you meditating? Are you going for walks? Are you getting out into nature and spending time in nature off of your phone and not having this just this little computer in your face all the time, just overstimulating your nervous system? So looking at what are the things that you've got going on in your life that are creating stress for you? And can it be eliminated? And if it can't be eliminated, what kinds of things can you put in place to help you manage that stress? What kinds of things can you do to lower that stress? How are you reacting to that stress level? Okay. So those are the 4 different things when I'm working with women over 40, getting back into shape And or you're like I'm in shape, I'm like I feel like I'm in shape, but I want to take it up to the next level. I want to get fit, I want to get jacked, I want to do the thing. We still focus in on nutrition, activity, sleep, stress. We focus in on those things, but you dial it in a little bit more. Earlier I was talking about the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you're doing the things that get you towards your goals. 20% of the time you're enjoying life. You're doing things that probably don't align with your goals, but you know what, there's a social component to life that don't always align to your goals, right? When you get to a point where it's like, I want to dial this in, I want to take it up the next level, that 80-20 becomes 85-15 or 90-10. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff, okay? And like I said, we've got nutrition, activity, sleep, stress management. That's the what. How do we do it? How do we do it? That is where I've developed this proprietary framework where I teach people how to do that, how to do this in your day-to-day life. And that is something that I call the balance framework. So what I wanted to do is share in here that I am running a 30-day summer glow up challenge for women over 40. And we're going to start on or around May 1st. I'm still working out the details, but there'll be a daily thing that we do as part of a summer glow up challenge. Things like, can you set your phone down for an hour for the day? Can you add in a new vegetable that you've never tried before? Maybe you try a new fitness class or new workout class or something like this. So we're going to do 30 days, really focusing in on your personal wellness. This will be a summer glow up challenge. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to, it's heathermonthy.com/30day. I'll put that in the comments. I'll come back after we're done here. I'll put that in the comments. heathermonthy.com/30day. There's an email form there. You put your name in there. You put your email address in there. You're going to get an email. And then as soon as I've got the details of it, you're going to get that right in your email inbox. And I'll be doing some more videos here, some more lives here explaining what we're doing here. Okay. All right. Women 40 plus, greater than everything else. Yeah. Well, I'm 48. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. All right. Well, check it out. Like I said, I'm going to start doing more lives here. So we're going to be talking about what we're doing in this 30-day challenge. If you want in, head over to heathermonthy.com/30day. I'll put it in the comments, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.